Good morning. Welcome to Detroit. My name is Roshunda Price. I am a resident, lifetime resident of Detroit. Attended grade school, high school here, and still currently live here. So welcome and thank you for choosing Detroit for the location of the conference. Like Benita, I decided early on as a child, 10 years old or so, that I wanted to be a lawyer. Actually, I decided I wanted to be a judge and didn't know enough about judges and the path to judgeship to know that you had to go to law school first. So, but I was fascinated with judges and the courtroom process, and went to high school not far from downtown Detroit, and sometimes on our half days, I would come down to the court and just sit in on the court and kind of look at the proceedings. So that's where my interest developed. Went to University of Michigan undergraduate program, still planning to be a judge, however I could get there, not really knowing. And once I got there, started trying to think about what I wanted to do, and somehow I decided I was going to get into the business school, still trying to be a judge and not knowing that you had to go to law school first. And I started working with a professor at the business school, the first African-American professor at the business school, who eventually became kind of a life mentor to me. And while I was applying for business school, and then I got in as a sophomore, I said, well, Dr. Edwards, what should I major in? And he said, major in accounting, you'll always have a job. Didn't know that accountants eventually became CPAs. And but I did what Dr. Edwards told me to do then and throughout my life. And so I graduated from the business school, majored in accounting, and worked for one of the, at that time, big 8 accounting firms for 3 years, and took the CPA exam and became a CPA. It was funny because as I said, I had always planned to be a judge. By the time I got into the business school and applied to the business school, I knew I had to first go to law school. So when my application to the business school, the question was, why do you want to be in the business school? I said, well, really, I just want to be a lawyer. But this is the path that I'm going to take to get me to law school and to my career. And I really enjoyed the business school and decided that I liked transactions. And I learned, during my time at the business school, I learned more about what lawyers do and decided I wanted to be a transactional attorney. And so everything I did after that was really around me being a transactional attorney. So as I said, I spent 3 years working at a big 8 accounting firm, and I wanted to work and learn as much as I could because I knew I wasn't going to be there very long. So I focused on small and closely held businesses who generally don't have enough money to pay all the departments of a big accounting firm. So usually the auditor does everything, the taxes, some business consulting. So I saw a lot in a short period of time. After being there for 3 years, I went back to law school to the University of Michigan Law School, and continued with my transactional education and development. I took a lot of classes that reinforced some of the things I had already learned in real life, all the transactional related courses that I could take in law school. I even took accounting for lawyers because I just got that NBLSA. And graduated from Michigan's law school and clerked for a federal judge, a district court judge. And I just wanted that experience. In hindsight, I think it has made me a better transactional lawyer. People ask me all the time, well, if you knew you wanted to be a transactional lawyer, why did you have this litigation experience? And even when I began my job search, people were tending to want me to do litigation. I said, no, I mean, knowing about litigation or knowing about what happens on the back end helps you be a better transactional lawyer on the front end because you understand what people fight about. So that's why that experience was valuable to me in my career and career development. After my clerkship, I worked at a small, well, probably a medium-sized firm in the metropolitan Detroit area for 3 years. And my family started growing, and I decided I needed to be someplace with a little more regular hours and less time, weekend and evening time. So I decided to go in-house. And at the time, I was considering going to a bank or going to where I ended up, a public utility. I went to a gas pipeline company. And 3 years after being there, I opened up my email one morning, and the email said, in case you hadn't heard, the company had been acquired. And it was funny because that was the reason I chose them over the bank, because while the banks were going through acquisitions and mergers. And so that happened, and the company was very good, very generous, offered everybody an opportunity to go to Houston or Colorado, which I couldn't do with 3 kids because all my free babysitters are here. But so I stayed here and took a year off before going back into the workforce. When I returned to the workforce, I actually went to the county. So my experience was in, as a clerk for a federal judge, and then in private practice, then with in-house counsel at a corporation, and now I was in government. I worked for Wayne County at the Mental Health Department for a few months. Liked the work, had some health challenges, needed to leave there and take another break, so left for a little while, and then I was asked to join the University of Michigan Law School's Urban Communities Clinic as a staff attorney. At the time, the clinic was involved in these really complicated transactions. They're called low-income housing tax credit transactions, which involve the syndication or selling tax credits to finance the development of low-income and affordable housing. So I was hired as a staff attorney because the nature of clinics, all you know, is the students work the transactions or supposedly do the deals, but when you're not around, someone has to keep the deals going. So that was my role as staff attorney for the clinic. I spent a year there, and then someone lured me back to private practice by offering me twice the pay I was making. And I returned to private practice for a year. And then the law school came back and said, we want you back, and this time as a professor in the clinical program. So I returned to Michigan's law school and became the director and the professor at the same clinic I had been at before. I like what I do, but I've liked every job that I've had. I love law school. So I think, one of the things I tell people is make sure you're enjoying what you're doing and be flexible. I mean, I started out saying I wanted to be a judge. I haven't thought about that because everything I've done since then I've really enjoyed. I like transactions. I liked my CPA experience, all of that. And if I end up, at some point being a judge, that would be fine too. But right now, I'm really enjoying everything that I've been doing. Being in academia works for most people on a personal level more than anything. My schedule coincides with my kids' schedule in terms of schools and summer breaks and those kinds of things. And I still get to practice. I supervise students working on transactions involving live clients, usually clients in the city of Detroit. So I'm here, and more often than I'm in Ann Arbor, to tell you the truth. So I have really enjoyed everything I've done, and my advice would be to just be flexible.